Man, hold on. Let me go. Well, that's because he's normally not here. And welcome to the CSS podcast. This is episode number 68, titled it's our bowl selection preview show. Plus, that is so typical of Cincinnati sports title here. So, as you can see, we've got a guest here today, Mr. Mike Holland. He'll be giving us some expert picks and talking a little bit about betting strategies for those of you that like to do that. And he'll give you some good insight on what he looks for and some things like that. But we got a lot to talk about in the week that was. But before we get there, gentlemen, how was your week since last time we've been together?
Can't complain.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. So, other than again Cincinnati sports stuff, it's pretty much a broken record.
Yeah,
life's good my way, man. Life's good. Good time for sports right now.
that is good to hear. All right, well let's go ahead and where do you want to go first? Do you want to talk basketball first? You want to go Reds, Bengals, or FC Cincinnati?
Depends on if we want to go get it out of the way, pull the Band-Aid off, and then get more positive, or do we want to start positive?
Let's do negative to positive. There's a lot of negative for you UC fans, Cincinnati fans, sports fans. So let's go there. And
let's start with FC Cincinnati.
All right, let's go with FC Cincinnati.
That's the big one.
So they took a heartbreak loss, up 2-0. Hell is real, and the crew came back. Very, very difficult. Typical Cincinnati. Own player hits it in got credited with an own goal to give Columbus, one goal there, and got him right on the way. I know Columbus, from the articles that I read, I didn't watch it. Columbus seemed to dominate the entire game, but FC sort of got lucky and scored a couple of goals, one at the very end. I don't know. Takeaways from that? Let's just go around the horn here. Crawley, go ahead. When you start first? Yeah, we'll go Crawley, Sam, then Mike.
Usually Sam does the FC, but I'll go. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know if I have takeaways. It's tough to, this is another one where we're good at, defeats, not snatched out of the jaws of victory. 2-0. I was saying the whole time, even when FC Cincinnati went up 2, it was like, this is not enough. This is not enough. Columbus has a lot of offensive firepower. I mean, they scored the most goals in MLS this year. So, that they can score. They don't play great defense. It was not their forte. And FC Cincinnati had 3 goals taken away. Not some of them justly, some of them not so justly in the second half. Three times you put the ball in the back of the net and it doesn't count. I was at a watch party at Ryan Geist, and 3 times people went crazy jumping around, and 3 times we all looked at each other like, what the hell just happened? Because the goal would go up and then it would come off the scoreboard. So, it was almost about as bad as it could be in terms of how you could lose a game. I'd rather them lost 8-0 than lose that way. Just because of they had they went from having chances and they actually played better in the first part of the second half than did the first half. I mean, the crew controlled the first half completely. FC Cincinnati basically scored when they had a shot. That was about it for the whole first half. They had FC Cincinnati, at least in the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the second half, had more opportunities, like real opportunities, and they controlled the ball a little bit better. And then I just don't know what happened. I don't think I've watched a lot of soccer, and it's been rare that I've seen a high level team like FC Cincinnati just stop playing. Like they literally, the last 30 minutes of the game, couldn't do anything. I mean, they act like it was the third game of the season and everybody was hurt and cramping up and they couldn't run anymore. It was just weird. I just didn't understand it. Just how much they stopped playing, and Columbus just absolutely dominated the extra time. And the fact that they only scored 1 goal in the extra time, probably FC Cincinnati got a little lucky with that. Just because it was an absolute they just dominated it through and through. So great season. Doesn't take away from you win the Supporter Shield. If this is Europe, then, or really this is the rest of the world, then FC Cincinnati is the champions. There is no such thing as a tournament at the end of the season. So I will go into my, European roots and say that FC Cincinnati really is the MLS champions. They have the Supporter Shield. This is just one of those side tournaments that all these leagues have. And, and I know a lot of FC Cincinnati fans and Sam being the conspiracy theorist that he is probably is going to say that that a goal or two probably should have counted it. And I mean, when you have 3 goals and none of them go in because of some ref decision, it's, it makes it kind of tough, but I mean, there was some justification for each goal being called off, but I'll be interested to see what he says about those. So I'll leave it at that.
We'll talk about conspiracy theories here in a little bit, but I do have a breaking news.
Oh, it's Miami in the
Miami
Bowl.
Miami
Bowl.
No.
The Camellia Bowl.
No. Miami is playing Appalachian State in the Avocados from Mexico Bowl.
Oh, yay!
Shout out to Chuck Martin.
Yay!
And the Miami Red Hawks, baby.
Who cares?
Woo!
Who cares? I'm a Miami alum. Who cares?
Yeah. That's Oh.
App State.
App State,
your
baby.
School spirit
That's
is
right.
Probably.
App State, baby.
Just unimportant.
Well, hey, hey, that is in Orlando. So
that should have been a quiz. Where's that bowl play at without looking? So
not Mexico City, even though it is from Mexico, but it's in Orlando. So you would think it'd be suited for Texas.
Good job, Red Hawks.
Yes, way to go. All right, back to you, Sam. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but that was
I mean, I wasn't so much conspiracy theorist on the now the dogs are barking out there. Jesus. On the goals necessarily. I'm more on how MLS waited 3 weeks after an incident to suspend the MLS Defender of the Year. It's just MLS is just a terribly run organization. Just in general, the league office is a mess. Probably the worst run one in American professional sports. Because you had to wait 3 weeks to announce it, in the week leading up to the playoff game, that he's got a 3-game suspension and all of this stuff. I mean, that's bad. I mean, yeah, it's just terrible timing, just and all of that stuff. I mean, as far as the game's concerned, Columbus deserved to win, deserved to advance. You can't really say anything on that front. It kind of sucks to have 3 goals taken out, but I mean, they probably all legitimately should have been disallowed. So there's not too much of an argument there, other than, you just can't blow a 2-0 lead. And I mean, it's a bit of a cliche to say, 2-0 lead is the most dangerous lead in soccer, because it's kind of, you're up 1, you defend with everything, whereas you kind of switch off when you get up 2-0. And I think FCC definitely did that. So yeah, it sucks. You're not a Cincinnati sports team until you lose a heartbreaker in the playoffs. You're even more so not a Cincinnati sports team until you lose a heartbreaker in the playoffs, where your star defender is a bonehead and essentially costs you the game. So yeah, I mean, that's really all I have for that. For the fans that are saying there's always next year, no, there's not. Inter Miami is going to win it next year, just so we're all on board. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way now. Let's get that on the table. Be interested to see the odds once those come out after next Saturday. I'm sure they'll release the odds for that. Inter Miami will be the favorites, and they will be heavy favorites. You can count on that. So,
all right, Mike.
Hey, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on football or soccer. I'm FC Cincinnati. I get all my.
We're going European theme in this show, so
okay.
It is football. So,
well, I get all of my soccer news from my coworker Lynn Voles. So he was complaining and yelling about the suspension of Matt Miazga. Is that how we pronounce it?
Miazga.
He was not happy with that young man. I know that. He said he wanted some refunds from games because they've had a great year, and he predicted it was ruined already because of that suspension. Sounds like how they played, that had a lot to do with it. They did outscore Iowa football, so that's always a positive. You can take that. how you want to. But no, it's been exciting. I think it's funny. I've lived in a lot of cities all over the country. You guys are way more excited about, I guess the people who are excited about soccer are way more excited about soccer than they are any other sport here. More than college football for sure. But then even they beat the Bengals sometimes as far as people being out at bars and places and really having a good time watching the soccer. Even with the Super Bowl run a few years ago, when I go out to OTR, it's the soccer fans who are the wildest and craziest. So I know it's kind of heartbreak for a lot of Cincinnati. This one hurts.
Yeah, it does. And, unfortunately, that is Cincinnati in a nutshell. Here in the last 30 years since 1990, right? We just can't get a break. A lot of that is our own doing, and especially with Miazga and his, attitude and efforts, the only thing you can control. And, he went off afterwards and it cost him. And now Noonan, in his post-game presser, he was very proud of the way they played. The effort was there. And he said it just, we just didn't have enough. And that alludes to what you're saying, Crawley, where they just hit a wall, if you want to say it, or ran into a better team, better conditioned team, whatnot. You don't know. And it's, it could be learning because they haven't been that deep before. Don't know. So hopefully, we can get back and have some success on the pitch. And, next year we could be talking about hoisting both cups. So we'll see about that. But speaking about some more Cincinnati, Xavier basketball, they took 2 L's at home. Oakland University, they lost 78-76. And then they played a really good Houston team, and they played a lot better in that game, even though they came up short 66-60. Listen to Sean Miller talk about the Oakland team. He even said this before going into the game, that Oakland will probably beat some really, really good teams because they are a really, really good team. And, he was hoping it wasn't his team that they would beat, but, they are a very good team, experienced team. And they showed that coming into the Cintas Center and winning by 2. But then you go to turn around 4 days later and you have to play Houston, the number 6 team in the AP polls. And, Houston came out throwing haymakers. They got, Xavier got down early, came back, made it a game, but just couldn't get over the hump. Outside shooting, they're still trying to figure out the rotation and who's playing and all those kind of things. Anybody got anything to add on Xavier? Not yet.
I think the Houston game was a positive in it. I know just watching that Houston game, I was like, this is exciting. Houston's legit. Houston, is one of the 5 best teams in basketball by far. They'll go far. So just playing them so closely, that's a big positive. I know the Oakland loss kind of sets that back a little bit, but how they played Houston's big. They didn't get ran out of the gym for sure.
Right. And so they can, quality loss, right? So
very quality.
I would only just say because it's going to be a work in progress because of when you have 10 new players, I don't care who you are, what team you are, you got that many new players. When you're playing against legitimate teams, you may not win them, so they're playing Houston, who's better than legitimate. I'm sure Xavier was not favored in that game, so it's but
a lot of favorites went down.
Not surprising they lost. So
that Purdue loss.
Yeah, Xavier's gonna be a team that it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter this week versus it matters the end of the season because that's they gotta you have to get better and better and better throughout the season. Big East is a good conference, so it's going to force them to get better and better, or they're going to get they're going to be at the bottom of the pack. So we will see how they do. But I think Sean Miller's a really, really good coach. I'm sure they have a lot of talent on the team. They just got to get it figured out over the course of the season.
Yeah, and Green did not play. Their best shooter did not play that game. So, it is what it is. I mean, he averaging 8 points a game, about 8 points a game. You can hit the three. You never know. All right. UC undefeated still, which is good for the Bearcats. And what'd I do? Yep. Yeah, no, never mind. It disappeared from up here. But anyhow, they won 2 games. Let's see where it go this week. So yeah, we'll talk about the Howard game. They had to go into DC, beat Howard 86-81, and then they just destroyed Florida Gulf Coast 99-62. Any takeaways from UC?
No, I didn't watch either of the games. Just kind of followed along with the game today while I was watching the Steelers lose. So, they put up 99 points whenever you can put up 99 points. That's good offensive performance. And it wasn't really a shootout either. They still held Florida Gulf Coast to 62. So, that's a pretty good offensive and defensive performance overall. I think Aziz is going to be huge for UC moving forward. I think just having that extra athletic big man is going to be huge, especially once you get into Big 12 conference play. Because those guys are going to be more athletic than they were in the American last year, more skilled too. So it'll be huge to have him just anchoring the defense, catching lobs, rolling hard to the basket, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think UC has something going. I think they they just haven't had a good enough schedule yet to really know for sure.
Right.
They play Xavier next that next weekend, right? So get through Xavier, then they go back to kind of playing the the Evansvilles of the world. I think Evans is actually pretty decent this year, but then the Big 12 schedule starts right in early January, and they'll be thrown into the fire with Texas pretty much right after that. So we'll see what they do, but I think they have the makings of a definite tournament team and a team that can potentially cause some damage with the Z's. I think with that size, athletic size. If Jamil gets eligible, which we haven't really heard anything for a while on that, but if he does, I think you're really talking someone that a team that could potentially cause damage because they can shoot. But UC's one of their downfalls. It goes back into Bob Huggins years is they couldn't shoot the ball. And CJ Frederick was 5 for 6 today. The guy off the bench was 2 for 4. CJ Anthony. They got guys that can shoot a little bit better than they have. I think they got a pretty complete team. They got some good, role player, defensive players. So we will see. I think the Xavier game will be interesting because UC historically does not do great at Cintas. I don't know when the last time they won. It's been a long time since they won at Cintas with some good teams, but Xavier always has a good team. So if they can go in there and win that, then I think people are going to be sitting up a little bit straighter and paying attention to them. I will say another positive with UC is, they destroyed Georgia Tech. And if you've seen what Georgia Tech has done since UC beat them, not just beat them, but
yeah.
Georgia Tech wasn't even in the game. They beat them, like they beat Florida Gulf Coast, and Georgia Tech since then has beaten Duke and Mississippi State, I want to say, 2 top 25 teams, obviously Duke. So we all thought after that game, Georgia Tech was terrible. That's not a big win either, but what the heck? Georgia Tech has beaten 2 top 25 teams. So they got to have something, and UC just took them to the woodshed. So I think, I think they got something going, but it'll be interesting when they finally play some teams talent-wise at their level. So,
yeah, Duke has a hard time playing on the road under Shearer. They're 4-8 in road contests. So, playing away from Cameron Indoor Stadium, they're not great, but nothing. That's still a big win for Georgia Tech and a big win for UC. As long as they don't get hit by cars and, get hurt, UC.
Well, and he didn't even play today. So,
yeah. So, hopefully they look both ways before crossing the street or whatever happens. But, yeah.
I think Crawley makes a good point with just the schedule. We really won't know until the Big 12 play comes in, though. Once the Big 12, it's a gauntlet in the Big 12, though. If you look at just what the Big 12 is doing this year, I mean, it's like almost early 2000s ACC right now with like the teams right now in the Big 12. So they're not going to have a time off once conference play starts. So
right. So here's
after January 1st, we'll know.
Yeah. So the Xavier game is going to be, the rivalry.
Just the rivalry of it.
Yeah. So that'll be. We'll give our predictions here in a second. But they go Xavier, then they have their home versus Bryant, home versus Dayton, home versus Merrimack, home versus Stetson, and home versus Evansville. That's their next 6 games, right? And
the Dayton game is technically neutral.
Well, neutral, yeah, it's just right up the street. But then they go to BYU, and then Texas comes to town, and then Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma, Kansas. So yeah, it gets
every one of those teams I think is ranked.
Yeah, they're up there. So it's it'll get interesting in a hurry for UC. And the gauntlet of conference play in basketball is tough, right? Because you're going out on a Tuesday night playing, then you're turning around playing either Thursday or Friday or Saturday, and you could have that gauntlet of Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and that'll make or break you right there. So yeah, Sam, you got anything about UC?
No, I do have a question with conference play. How many conference games is the Big 12 doing this year? Is it still 18, or did they change to 20?
I think it's 18.
18.
Yeah. Let's see here.
So who do they have? Who do they not have twice? I guess would be the question. Do they kind of luck out?
I know they don't
play Kansas once.
Most teams they don't have twice because you're talking 14 teams this year.
Yeah,
so they only play like
true,
3 teams twice. I want to say
they play Houston twice.
They play Oklahoma twice,
and West Virginia twice.
Okay.
So those are the ones that they played twice. So, and TCU twice, maybe. Let me see. Yeah, TCU twice. So those 4 is who they play.
Okay, so they don't really have the.
They don't have the gauntlet
twice.
like it.
I mean, Houston will be tough twice, but
yeah.
But to avoid Kansas and Texas, that's pretty good. So.
Yeah. All right, predictions. We got the crosstown shootout. Went back to the shootout. So crosstown shootout next Saturday at the Cintas Center. Who do you got, Crawley?
I think it's going to make people see how good UC is. I think UC is going to go in and win. And I'll say, are we putting score and everything, or just
sure? Why not? Give us, yeah.
I mean, just that game gets pretty down and dirty, so it won't be as super high scoring. I'll say 60-57.
All right, Sam.
Yeah, I got UC as well. A little more high scoring, 72-64.
Mike.
I'm going off the board and saying Xavier is going to win. They're going to make our job a little bit. There's a little drama in the middle school section of my job, and so I'm saying Xavier 83-79.
You just want to keep your job because Miller might fire you. I want to
keep my
job. I think Xavier will pull it out. I think it's going to come down to the last 5 seconds of the game, tip in, something like that. I'm going to go Xavier 81, UC 80. So high scoring game. All right, there you have it. There's our prediction. So if you have a prediction for the game, those of you that are listening on any of the podcasting platforms, go ahead and shoot us a DM on Instagram or on Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene with your predictions and scores of the UC Xavier Crosstown shootout. Or, if you're watching live on YouTube, go ahead and put it in the comments. Who do you think is going to win that game? All right, moving on as we head forward here. We've got, let's talk about the Reds. Their free agent signings. They had 2, Nick Martinez and Emilio Pagan. 2 pitchers, could say 1 relief pitcher, 1 flex pitcher. I think it's a good move by the Reds. I'm kind of a hefty price tag for those guys. Pagan at $8 million and Martinez at 13. So that sort of, to me, thinks
It's a starting pitcher right there.
It's a starting pitcher, probably the number 5 or 4. I don't know. Thoughts on the signings?
Well, I had Pagan in our little free agency draft. I picked him. I think I had him a little cheaper, but that's the Castellini tax, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, the Martinez one kind of took me by surprise because he's that swing pitcher that, your 6th starter, I guess you could say, long reliever, starting hybrid type guy, that Luis Cessa, who you don't even want on your team, and you're giving this guy $13 million. I mean, his numbers were better. Excuse me. But
just a little bit.
But still, I mean, $13 million for a guy you don't know if he's going to be a starter or a reliever. I mean, that's a bit hefty to me. I like the willingness to spend money, but I'd rather them not spend it so stupidly, in my opinion. I think that's a waste of $13 million that they could have used somewhere else. I mean, if this guy ends up being a shutdown bullpen guy for you, then I guess that's a good thing. But I don't know. I don't like the 1-year deal for a pitcher to be your starter and risk ruining or slowing the development of some of these younger guys. I don't necessarily like that. I wanted a starter come in on a 4 or 5-year deal who was going to be, a top 3 rotation guy, not somebody battling for the 5 spot who might just be a relief pitcher. So that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the market, right? I mean, when Luis Severoni from the Yankees goes to the Mets for $13 million on a 1-year deal. I mean,
that's
the Reds are going to have to
right there.
You're going to have to pay up. And playing in Great American Ballpark, these pitchers on 1 or 2 year deals, 1-year deal with an option, they're going to want some money just because they don't want, playing in Great American Ballpark to affect their stats. And they want to be able to, get that extra contract, 3-year deal down the road. But, I don't know if the Reds are finished yet. I don't think they are.
I can't imagine they are.
I was going to say, does that close the Dylan Cease? Is Dylan Cease still a possibility at all?
I think so.
Trade-wise, but but
I know. Well, he has to be. He's not a free agent,
right?
I know. Not. Yeah, but what you get him for and what he can bring is that top 3 starter,
right?
Yeah, 2 Great American Ballpark.
Yeah, I would hope it's not the end of it. If it is the end of it, again, it was Castellini stepping in and ruining it. When you have maybe a 5th or maybe a 6th inning guy in Pagan, and Martinez is your 7th inning guy, maybe your 5th starter, and that's not enough. I mean, that's an upgrade. Any talent. I mean, that's not Mike Minor and whoever the dude was last year that I've already forgotten.
Luke Weaver.
Yeah, that
Come on,
dude,
how can you forget?
No,
Luke?
I'm always going to forget him. So.
Connor Overton, but they brought him back, by the way. So
hopefully for single A, they need some starters. Again, if he pitches for the Reds, then the season is in the tank. So
he's going to be bullpen guy.
No. So anyway, my point is if that's the end of it, then it was unsuccessful. Then Castellini screwed up again. They need to go for it more than that. They still need a higher level starter. Martinez is not that. But he's an upgrade. I mean, I'm not upset about that. Either one of them. I mean, they're both upgrades. What we had, no Buck Farmer anymore. So, Pagan is better than Buck Farmer. So it's an upgrade, and Martinez is better than, the other handful of guys that, then they won't have anymore. So yeah, it's just if that's all they do, then that's not enough. They'll be 500 again kind of thing because they won't have enough starting pitching. And we were all hoping for a higher level starting pitcher. We were hoping at number 2, number 3, not a 5. So there's a lot of guys out there that could be a 5. So and it may be they have to trade for him. And And I have a feeling the Reds are leaking that they're talking to these other teams because it gives them good PR and people get excited about it.
But not to do nothing though, just to
no, right. Ultimately, they do nothing. But I'm saying that you leak and say, "Oh yeah, I heard the Reds are talking to the Rays about Tyler Glass now." Well, let's get excited about that. Well, you can talk to all you want and and offer some single A pitcher as your trade. What's your new trade? I'm not going to do that. So we'll see until it happens. It happens. Now this week is typically a big week when it comes to trades because you got the GM meetings this week. So the Reds have, when they've made moves in the past, some bigger ones. I think the Matt Latos one, which is way back in the past, but there isn't much to pull from since then. But when those, a lot of moves typically happen during this upcoming week. So we'll see. I'm at least a little bit optimistic that they, have spent some money and brought in upgrades to the bullpen. Maybe the fifth starter. I mean, if Nick Martinez is your fifth starter, that's okay. Yep. Fifth starter. He's kind of like Ben. I assume he's the Ben Lively, just a better pitcher. Is basically what he's playing, and way more money than Ben Lively costs too.
Yeah.
Who I think was at the major league minimum. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it was any bad moves because it's still an upgrade.
Right. Well, one person that won't be coming to Cincinnati, if you listen to Nick Kroll, is the Bauer outage. Trevor Bauer will not be a part of this. Doesn't fit the culture apparently in Cincinnati. Right, wrong, indifferent. But that's one starter that has proven himself here at Cincinnati and who could have really helped us, but probably too much negativity, baggage, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But I do agree with you, Charlie, that it's probably going to have to be a trade to get a starting pitcher. And, how much are you willing to give up? Reports, Mike's, they were saying, Cease and Robert, maybe, he's on the blocks. That would take a haul for the Reds to get both of those guys, but that would be what we would need, and I think that would restore faith in this franchise that they are trying to win now. You get a frontline starter, and you get your big right-handed bat in the outfield.
Is he an like an everyday outfielder, or does he play DH?
Yeah, he's a center fielder.
Yeah,
he's your everyday center fielder.
Yeah,
so Robert's a center fielder.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
I thought he was a bigger dude that played in the corner.
No, he's a center fielder.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I went Dylan Cease for selfish reasons. I'm a big disc golfer. He spent $2 million buying land in Alabama and converting it into a massive disc golf course. He bought a pro tour course in Florida that he converted. Come on, Dylan, come to Cincy, join me, get me out of this teaching life and into disc golf design. Let's go. Does he listen? Right?
Can I be your caddy?
Yeah,
you can be my caddy.
Awesome. I'll be your caddy.
We'll drive the rest of the card mates crazy. Right. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Any other news? Reds Fest was this weekend. I did not get a chance to go down. Kind of wanted to, but football games were on. I think I wanted to watch those more than go down and see.
Bad weekend for it, really.
It is, but this is the best weekend that they have, and it's just good turnout from what I've saw, and it's probably one of the best fest or whatever you want to call it in Major League Baseball. The Reds do things well. Their Hall of Fame is one of the best, if not the best, Hall of Fames in Major League Baseball besides Cooperstown. And, Reds Fest is another one where they get so many of their players to come to this event and former players to come back who are just raving about it. And, so kudos to them for putting on a fantastic show this weekend. And, we can't wait till, what is it, March 28th, 29th, something like that for opening day. And, we'll check back here. We'll have breaking news with the Reds. If they sign anybody, we'll talk about it on future episodes. All right.
I noticed real quick, last thing I noticed that even at Reds Fest, they let Phil Castellini come out of the basement and actually talk. So.
They did.
I was actually a little surprised about that. Thought they had him chained down in the basement and not letting him see the light of day.
Did he wear that stupid red blazer?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, but hey, it is what it is, right? All right, let's move on to the Bengals preview Monday night. We normally have instant reaction on Sundays. The Bengals don't play tonight. They go into Jacksonville, where they are. Mike, what's the latest spread? Is it 8.5?
Hey,
or
you had me.
Or is it 7.5?
I think it's 7. It was 7.5 last time I checked.
Okay, so 7.5 point underdog. What do they have to do to cover?
10.
Or...
It's 10. 10.
Ooh.
10.
Well,
whoa.
CTB is out. They officially ruled him out, so that probably bumped it up there a little bit. And so what does the Bengals have to do to cover or to win this game? Mike, go ahead, since you're the
I think talk to Florida State's head coach, how they figured out to win that game with 0 quarterback and
Wildcat, baby.
Wildcat, maybe?
Joe Mixon,
just one there. Wildcat play, and you can win the game.
The problem is, the Bengals have to block that. And
they're not playing Louisville football either, so that's another issue. No, I think the Bengals, it's time to just call it in this year, guys. Let's regroup. Let's get some weapons for next year. I honestly don't know what to do against Jaguars. We just need the Jaguars to be like they randomly are once every 3 games and just not play. And that's probably the best option right there. I will say, Survivor, I'm still in it. Jaguars are my team this week. I had to flip to them once that happened.
Crowley, what did our 11 have to do here?
I don't know. I mean, they got to have some semblance of a run game. They can't have whatever his name is throw the ball 30 times. They got to commit to that. The offense. They just have to play up to where they should be playing, and they have a chance. I mean, the offensive line has to play better. The defense as a whole has to play better. Those things. I mean, on paper, those things should be happening, and they just haven't this year. So, if they play like they have been, then they're gonna lose by more than 10. Now, the Bengals have a history of, even in the Andy Dalton years, of they have just lay a complete egg and then they come back and play pretty well the next week. So maybe that's just an NFL thing. Maybe that's not the Bengals. So I wouldn't. I mean, the Jaguars are good. They're not. I agree with Mike. They definitely have games pretty regularly where they just, for whatever reason, they just are pretty bad. So it's possible that it happens in here, and the Bengals stay in it, and defense makes some play at the end, kind of thing. But they have to just play a lot better, as a group. Florida State, if you're using that example last night, their defense was as good as could be. Their defense was crazy good. The Bengals haven't been even average yet this year. So defense wise, they've won on a miscue, on a turnover kind of thing, but you can't always do that. And that hasn't happened the last couple of weeks. And you've seen what and when you're just straight up, man to man in terms of defense, offense, they're just not good. Or they haven't been good. They should be a lot better than that based on the talent and based on what they pay these guys. So,
yep. Sam?
Yeah, I really don't know. The defense is going to have to play their best game of the year. I don't know. Maybe the Jaguars will be the new team in prime time. They just, stink, like the Andy Dalton Bengals. Maybe Trevor Lawrence just doesn't have it in him. I honestly, that's probably the best hope is that Trevor Lawrence has that Andy Dalton trait. Because otherwise, I don't see. They definitely don't win. I don't even see them cover those 10 points either. Because I think, like I said last week, Zach Taylor thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's going to be able to scheme Jake Browning into a 300-3-touchdown game. Realistically, Mixon needs 20 to 25 carries. You kind of have to kill the clock and win, 17-13 kind of thing. But I just don't think Zach Taylor has it in him to scheme up that type of game. So I don't see any way that the Bengals win.
Well, here's how they win, right? They got to control the clock, win the turnover battle, which Trevor Lawrence is prone to turnovers at times. And if we can get some pressure, that's where, our our defensive front has to control the line of scrimmage. I mean, DJ Reader, BJ Hill need to step up, stop the run game, force Trevor Lawrence into 3rd and long, and Hendrickson, Miles Murphy, Sam Hubbard, all those guys need to be rushing. And I mean, they got to be able to get, he's not as elusive as, Lamar Jackson, those Jalen Hurts, those type of quarterbacks. But I mean, he can run. I mean, he did it at Clemson. He can run. He can scramble, but he will also throw a ball into situations that we can pick him off. And, he will create a couple of turnovers. And the problem is we have to capitalize on those turnovers. And I don't know if we will. I mean, whether it's Mixon and a combination of Chase Brown, they need to touch the ball 20, 25 times. We've got to utilize our tight end in the seams a little bit. T. Higgins, full practice. He's back. So that gives another weapon for Browning to utilize. So, I'm not ruling them, out as far as, they have no shot, but, they have to play probably the perfect game to beat Jacksonville on a Monday night, because that stadium's going to be crazy. So let's go around. We'll start with Mike. Predictions for the game.
I predict Bengals mail it in. Arizona's dominating right now. You're only 2 losses, like 2 Arizona wins away from moving up to Marvin Harrison Jr. Figure out a way to get Neighbors or Harrison Jr. Top 5 pick. No, I think Jaguars. I think 24-14. I think the Bengals put up a fight. I think spread's perfect right there. That 10's a good number. I think the Bengals do slow it down. Don't let it just be a barn burner. Hopefully, Bengals defense can hold their own, keep it close. But I think the Jaguars do win this.
All right, Sam.
Yeah, Jaguars are going to win. I think they're going to put up a little more, beat them by more than 10. 27-10 Jaguars.
Probably. Yeah, I was the optimist last week. I'm not going to be this week, so I'm going to say the Jaguars are going to win. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in like the 27. They'll have Bengals probably have a decent number of field goals, so I'll say 27-12. We'll get 4 field goals. So
all right. Well, I guess I will be the optimistic one out of the bunch. I think they'll cover. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll cover.
10 points. I mean,
I think they'll cover.
We're not talking about that. So,
but hey, I'm giving them
That's optimistic,
credit.
Man. Come down.
That's right. I'm being optimistic. I say it's going to be 24-17. 24-17. So I think we get Jacksonville. I think we get a touchdown early. But I think Jacksonville is the better team right now. But we'll see.
I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, Mike's mentioned a time or two already. It's not a good thing for the Bengals that the Cardinals are whooping the Steelers right now.
Without Josh Dobbs, by the way, who they got rid of, right? But Kyler Murray is
Murray's back.
Yeah.
But the Steelers have 3 points.
Yeah, and they're Arizona's
they
defense.
Yeah. They're pretty much the Florida State of the NFL, the Steelers. They keep winning, but they literally have no offense.
Well,
but I'm saying last week they ran over the Bengals for 420 yards or whatever.
Yeah. So it's not the offensive coordinator, right? So, all right. So as of right now, the Bengals have I think it's like the 15th pick.
But it's overall.
If they finish where they're projected to finish 7-10, they are moving up to the top 8, I think it is. So Brock Bowers, but we won't get Brock Bowers because he's a tight end and Zach doesn't utilize the tight end at all. So Neighbors or the kid from Washington, the wide receiver from Washington. But the last time we took a wide receiver from Washington,
didn't work out.
Did not work out.
He was fast.
He was
really fast.
but you got to be able to catch the ball too. So, okay. Now we are moving into our trivia section. That was the week that was. Last week I had the question, and let me pull it back up here. So, Mike, you weren't on last week, but I will let's see if you can get this here. And these guys have a little more time to think about it. Said there have been 4 players to hit a home run as a teenager and after turning 40. The guys got A-Rod as one, and that was the only one they got out of the 4 right now. So I'll give you about 15 seconds to come up with the list if you think. Crawley, Sam, you got any other ideas why Mike is thinking? And if not, I will give the answers then.
No, A-Rod was the only guy I could come up with.
I didn't have anybody else, but
so I don't think he extended this long. It wasn't Andrew Jones. Did not extend that deep into. He didn't go to 40 at all, did he?
He didn't go 40.
And then, are any of them Reds?
No. Okay. Never were a Red. There was one around the A-Rod era.
Cabrera?
Played
with Cabrera?
Nope.
And
then one in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, early 80s, and the other in the 1900s, 10s, 20s, stuff like that.
Dang. I'm out.
All right. So here are the answers. So you got A-Rod correct. His peer, Gary Sheffield. And then Rusty Staub. Oh, Rusty. Rusty Staub, New York Met and Giant and everybody else. And then Ty Cobb. So Ty Cobb did it as a teenager and as a 40-year-old player. So there you go. All right. So Sam, I believe you have this, or is it? I think you have this.
Yeah, it's mine. Yeah.
So if you think you know the answer to this question that Sam is getting ready to pose, go ahead and shoot us a DM on Instagram or at Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene, or you can go ahead and just put it in the chat as you are watching this episode. So go ahead, Sam. Tell us about the trivia this.
Yep. So it's a little college football playoff. So we're going to go back to the very first college football playoff rankings, the initial first 4 teams that the committee put together back in, November of 2014. Who were the top 4?
Top 4.
Oh, just who was it? Who were the 4 in the playoff in 14?
So the ranking, not necessarily the playoff teams.
Right, just the ranking.
But the
Mississippi
first ranking.
State, I think, was number 1 or
That's
something
correct.
like that. Yeah. Yep. Because they beat, I think that was Dan Mullen beating Alabama or something like that. And
Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
They were number 1, you're saying?
They were number 1 in the very first college football playoff poll. Yeah.
So the one that comes out in October.
Poll.
The November one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The November one.
Yep.
Yeah. So the
That's
very
a
first
good.
one.
That's a good.
idea.
So I would say LSU had to be in that.
Nope.
No. Ohio State.
I mean, Ohio State was the team that got into the playoff. Like that was a
Right.
controversy. Was Ohio State? I'll say Penn State.
Penn State. Nope.
I know that was the controversy. Was Ohio State over Penn State?
It's not Michigan
Oregon.
either.
Oregon.
Oregon was number 5. They were not top 4.
Oh, Baylor.
Nope. Baylor was 13.
Mm.
Alabama still.
Alabama was not. They were 6.
We're
Auburn.
terrible at this.
Auburn was number 3.
Auburn
So you're
was
missing 2
3.
and 4.
USC.
Clemson.
Nope and nope.
Notre
It's
Dame.
Nope, not Notre Dame. They were number 10.
I don't think was Michigan State up there about that point.
They were number 8. So no.
Yeah.
Louisville.
No.
Louisville.
Oh, this was a good year. No, that was Teddy. That was Teddy Bridgewater prime. That's the same year they beat UC in the rain game at the end of the year. And then UC's great year. Come on.
Scumbag.
Was it something like West Virginia, or Houston, something like that? I mean, wasn't one of those teams?
No, these are two. One of them.
USC.
No. I mean,
We've
so
guessed all
one's
of
an
this.
ACC school, the other's another SEC school. So
SEC and ACC. Georgia, not Georgia.
So
Florida.
the SEC school is actually the team that beat Alabama earlier in the year.
Texas A&M. Texas A&M.
Nope.
I didn't know if that was whatchamacallit's name.
Well, they beat.
Was it Petrino, Arkansas?
Well,
it was not Arkansas. No.
Missouri.
SEC West. It's like the only SEC West school you haven't named yet.
Missouri?
Not Missouri, no.
Louisiana.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss was number 4.
And then
number 2 was the defending champ from the year before.
Florida State.
Florida State. Yep.
All right.
Did any of those teams get into the playoff?
No.
Florida State did.
They did?
Did they?
Florida State did. Yeah, they lost to Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to
Bama
say,
was
I
one.
was say none of those
Bama
teams.
lost to
That's a
Ohio
terrible
State.
initial rankings.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, those rankings are like inconsequential because none of them, I mean,
Yeah.
they did nothing in the actual end of the year.
If you
Good
look,
riddance to those. I'm glad those
Mississippi
are over.
in the final ranking, Mississippi State finished 7, Auburn was 19, and Ole Miss was number 9, and then Florida State was number 3. So they actually made it.
Was that Dak Prescott, Mississippi State?
It was.
Yeah.
It was Dak Prescott.
Who was the Ole Miss quarterback then? I didn't realize they were good then.
That was Chad Kelly.
Chad Kelly.
Yep.
Nice. All right. So there you go. We answered them all. Sorry, folks out there in listening land, but you could go ahead and.
Our percentage was very low. I mean,
Yes,
if we
it
based
was.
it on our guesses,
It was.
I mean,
It was.
we hit about 142 there. So
Well, we weren't above the Mundo's line, but I did get the number 1. I knew Mississippi State right off the bat. So I was batting 1,000 there for a while.
I'm just looking through the list. East Carolina came in at 23, and then they
Well,
dropped out immediately after that.
Yeah, they had a decent team. But all right. That was a great segue, right? Going into the college football playoffs selections. Let's go ahead and instant reaction to the playoffs, the top 4. You have Michigan at number 1, followed by Washington at 2. Number 3 was Texas, and then 4 was Alabama. Thoughts on those 4? I guess the question is, did the committee get it right? First of all, and did the committee get it right? I guess that's the question, because
I'm not sure that they did. I mean, I'm not going to complain that Bama got in by any stretch, but I mean, kind of the argument is the best 4 teams. But if you say that, the best 4 teams still aren't even in because Georgia is one of the best 4 teams. It's an argument that Georgia probably would have the second best odds to win the whole thing, if not the best odds, and they're sitting at number 6. So, I mean, I don't really know what logic the committee used other than they saw Florida State's 3rd-string quarterback throw for 50 yards, and that was that. They were like, "We're not doing this."
Well, here's here's my question about that though, right? If you're trying to get the best teams, then why isn't Georgia ahead of Florida State? In their thinking, you would think that Georgia would be sitting at 5, Florida State would be 6.
well, that's at least I think easy to answer because 5th and 6th mean absolutely nothing. Who cares? And so it's easy just to put Florida State there and say, they were the undefeated team. You put them there. That's what's one less conversation we got to have is why would they even be dropped even further down? So I think that's an easy because who cares who's 5th and 6th? Unfortunately, I think I hate to say it, they got it right because I think it's a travesty that Florida State's not, in the top 4. From the standpoint of, I mean, you're an undefeated Power 5 team. You beat everybody and that you played ahead of you.
First time in history.
The defense, the Florida State defense that was about as good of a game as I've seen a defense play in a long, long time. And who knows, that defense against any of those top 4 teams might have shut them down too. You don't know that. No one can say that they know that for sure. And that's why I don't like the eye test, because the eye test is crystal ball. The eye test is fake. The eye test is are you going to stake, in Holland's gambling world, are you going to stake a legitimate amount of money to say that Alabama is going to beat Florida State tomorrow? Would you put 10 grand? Would you put 10 grand down on that?
I would put a lot of money. If it's just
10
straight
grand.
up, I would put a lot.
Would you put your year's salary down on that?
So it's like 10 grand. So it's the same. Okay. So yes, I just already said 10 grand.
It's more than 10 grand because I've worked in school long enough to know it's more than that.
We work in the same district, right?
And there's no way I would do that. There's no way I would do that, especially seeing the Florida State defense. They might win the game 10-7. You don't know that for sure.
I also saw the Florida State offense.
Yeah, I said 10-7.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting 10 against a legit defense.
You don't think, but you don't know.
It was bad.
You don't know that. So I'm saying ultimately, I said Alabama's going to get in. I knew that was going to happen. And for Joey Galloway on the preview on the analysis show to say that the fact that the SEC doesn't play into it, he's full of crap. He doesn't want to say it. He wants to live in la la land. ESPN wants the SEC into it. I'll play conspiracy theorist here.
Yeah.
So
100%.
ESPN wants SEC into it, and you can't tell me otherwise. And Joey Galloway can go suck a big one. When he tried to put the other guys down for even bringing that up. So
I'm actually more shocked about Texas, though. People are saying, I mean, I like Texas being in there. I think they're a great team. There's not more pushback on Texas than there is Alabama being in there. I understand Texas beat Alabama, but their loss was much worse.
But that's why. I mean, you can make that a lot easier.
And then they beat Georgia in the championship, where Texas was playing Oklahoma State in the championship. I mean,
that's who was in front of them again. And you can't beat you. I mean, I don't think you get around. I think if Alabama and Florida State would have been in there and Texas wouldn't have been, you would even have a bigger outcry.
Yeah.
Texas would have had a bigger.
Because then
there's absolutely no
head
way
to head doesn't matter.
Alabama in over Texas.
Head to head wouldn't matter.
And so unfortunately, it is what it probably was going to be. I mean, the 4 best teams. I mean, Georgia, you can make that argument or whatever, but you legitimately could not put Georgia in there. If they had any, if that committee had any legitimacy to it. Because then you just don't play any game. You just say, these are the 4 teams we're picking at the beginning of the year, and these 4 in the playoffs. And what's the point of playing anything? Well, kind of thing. So,
and this is where, I listened to the Cover 3 podcast, so shout out to those guys. But this is where Danny Cannell, I mean, I know he is a Florida State grad, he played at Florida State. But this is where the preseason rankings mean so much, because of the perception of, hey, the SEC has 10 teams in the top 25 and all these other conferences barely have any. And then when the games matter, the SEC had the worst record against the other Power 5 conferences. And you can't, you've got to take the entire body of work. And I understand Jordan Travis's injury. Yes, it is a damper on that offense, but football is the ultimate team sport. So they say, right? Not one person can't win a game is what they say in football, but it's the ultimate team sport. Their defense rose up to the occasion. They go into hostile rivalry, Florida State. I mean, the Swamp is a tough place to play no matter what. They beat them with a backup quarterback who got his bell rung, and he's in concussion protocol.
Florida also had a backup quarterback.
They did.
Florida's really bad too.
Right. Yes, they both had backup quarterbacks, but it's a rivalry game. You go into the ACC championship game with your 3rd string quarterback who had really 1 week of practice with the number 1s. and it showed, obviously. Not a very good performance on his part. You know, to get the best teams in, most deserving teams, that's the thing. It's, you know, if they would just say
mission statement is best teams. Nothing in there does it say most deserving.
I know.
So
and with ESPN putting this on for the 10 years, you know, it's all about TV, it's all about revenue, it's all about following the money, right? I mean, and the SEC has this, they're up on this pedestal. And I think Florida State got robbed. Not saying that, you know, they would have beat Michigan, but I mean, Michigan, their offense, I mean, is very, you know, they're run heavy. And, you know, it would be a, you know, 9-6 type of ball game, you know, if they were to play. And that's not what the executives want, unless it's two SEC teams like Alabama and LSU when they played 9-6. And there's like, oh my gosh, the defenses are so great, but both offenses were horrible at the time. So, you know, it's just one of those things. And we can't rule out that if Auburn catches that punt, they probably go on to win the game.
Or if the clear pass interference to win the game. That was the one.
Right. And not to mention that 4-31, and not to mention that they didn't really review the catch, no catch on the 4th and 17 or whatever it was, 4th and 21 against Georgia, where, you know, Gene Saratora just came out and said, yeah, they probably should have looked at that because it probably would have ruled it an incomplete pass. And then Georgia gets the ball, you know.
Well, then you get, that's where interesting questions, and, you know, the what if game is the interesting part, because what if Auburn does beat Alabama? Alabama's out.
Right. Alabama's out. If Alabama beats Georgia.
So does Georgia. No, so I'm saying Alabama, you know, it happens as it is. So now is Georgia now the 4th team in instead of Alabama? And the answer to that is probably yes. They probably get over Florida State because you still have the same issue. You still have Florida State with their 3rd string quarter.
I don't think
even the 2nd string.
I don't think they get in over because
I think they do.
Because Georgia would not be a conference champ.
Yeah,
and I think
this is the Ohio State argument from the first year. This is what their issue is about why it was controversial them getting in. They didn't even play in the conference championship and they got in. So I think
they beat Wisconsin.
Yeah, they did. They beat Wisconsin 59-0. That's why they got in.
Oh, they got into the count. Well, I thought they had lost to Penn State, and so there was some issue with Penn State in that in terms of getting in. So
Penn State had, yes, they did, but Penn State that was not the first year. The first year, Ohio State lost to a Virginia Tech team.
Well, the year that Ohio State and Penn State had the issue,
Penn State had two losses.
And Ohio State and Penn State played in the conference championship game, and Ohio State did not. But Ohio State still got put into the playoff. That's because
they had
it happened.
2 losses.
But I'm saying it happened.
Right.
It happened one time where you know a team that didn't even make the conference championship get in.
But this is the last year we deal with.
I think Georgia gets in that case. I think they'd still use the same argument, but that would have been even more interesting, I think. Yeah. And the other even more would have been if Florida State, if Jordan Travis still was around. You know, if Jordan Travis.
They're 100% in.
They're in.
So you think they would have let an SEC champion out?
I think in that case they would have. Or they would have screwed Texas over Alabama.
Yeah, or they would have
taken Texas.
They might even Washington.
I think they might have screwed Texas.
I don't know.
I'm saying I think they might have screwed Texas there.
Yeah, I think that's
why I'm telling you, Joey Galloway he needs to shut up.
Here's what I'll say:
he's lying.
But even Texas's odds to get in last week were nowhere near what they were right before this happened. Is how Texas won the game, and then what happened with that. Like I think they were planning on leaving Texas out. That was who they were planning on leaving out, and Florida State just. What happened with Florida State? That visual test, I think that helped everything.
Well, here's the thing:
if Florida State wins 37-6,
they're in.
They're in.
Well,
I mean, they're 16-6. Yeah, that's.
But they won by 10. I mean, they won by 10, right? 10, double digits.
10 in college football is nothing.
And if you watch the game, it was.
Well, yes, I understand
so bad.
But you also have to realize
Oregon was favored by 10 over Washington. So 10 points means nothing in college football.
But here's the thing, though, right? Oregon was favored. You know,
Okay,
Florida
State
State
by the way,
was favored by one.
by the way,
So-
Holland, on the eye test, Oregon should have beaten Washington. I mean, they were up by they were favored by 10. Vegas said that Oregon may be playing the best of any team in the country right now.
And-
So on the eye test, Oregon should be in there. That game shouldn't even happen. Oregon should have just been put in.
Well, and that's why I think. I mean, I am like Sam. I mean, we named our dog after Nick Saban, for crying out loud, right? I mean, we are Bama. I mean, we love Bama football, but I don't. I mean,
just let Vegas decide who's going to be in there. Don't even play the games.
And that's what Booger was saying, and he was getting ran off the feet. He was getting ran off the set because the ESPN and the SEC are in bed together because they are now. That's where the money is, and if you look at it, it's the ACC is done. Florida State will leave the ACC either this coming year, or next year. Because they're saying, look, we are undefeated
financially. Whenever they can, they're out.
Well, they'll do it. They'll say, screw this. We're doing it.
They have their buyouts like $100 million or something.
It's not quite that high, but
it's pretty close.
It's
enough that they can't do it yet.
Yeah,
but they
will
may
this
just
matter after this year though. Is this even something that's going to matter after this year?
Yeah, next year you got the 12 teams. So Florida State's in, Georgia's in, Ohio State's in.
Right. You got the. But here's the thing, though. They have to change the thing because it used to be the top 5 power. There's not 5 power conferences anymore, right?
Right.
No.
Right.
Pac-12 done.
Well, what they're doing, it's going to be the top 5 ranked conference champions.
Right.
So they're going to include a group of 5 in there.
Yeah.
In a group of 5 conference champions.
But they'll always be number 12.
No, they'll be a top 5. They won't get the bye, no, but they'll be 5th.
No, they'll be 12th.
I can see them tweaking. I could see them tweaking the rules before next year and saying it's a top 4 conference champions now.
Well, that's the ones who get the get the bye, correct?
Correct.
That's all they got to do, and I'm sure they'll do that.
Right.
They're not going to let Liberty be the 5th seed.
No, they're not. And Liberty would be the 12th seed right now. That's what they said. Yeah. Liberty would be the 12th.
Yeah.
Because the group of 5 will always get the shot.
But Holland's right from the standpoint of just the argument today is over.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about it. And if people are going to want to argue about the 12th and 13th team, which is going to happen just because it's fun, just like in the NCAA, we care about the 68th team. That's just for fun, for sports debate. But the actual issue of today is he's right, is over. Like we don't have to worry about that again. All those teams are in.
I have the same arguments as you guys do. I do think they got it right as an entertainment piece. What we're going to get to see, the potential of these 4 teams playing. I think there are, Georgia is better. I think Georgia's a top 4 team for sure. But as far as just entertainment with this, Florida State, even now with the game we looked earlier, Florida State's a 15-point dog in the game versus Georgia. I know a lot can happen, but we don't really need them in there. I know TCU kind of shocked the world beating Michigan a little bit last year. Then the championship game came, and what happened?
Because they didn't have the signs.
Yeah, at this point we don't. I think I'm happy with these 4 games. I think our New Year's Day is going to be a lot more entertaining because of the 2 games we get.
Well, and I think that's.
I'll take the money, Holland, right now with you. That Florida State covers that.
At 15?
Yep.
Well, you know what? Where you may have a good point is if Georgia's
the Florida State defense is that good. The Florida State defense is that good.
Well, but here's the thing, though, is
and they're going to be pissed. They are going to be crazy out there at Florida State right now.
Are their defensive ends going to play? Because he's
like a top 10 pick, yeah.
Yeah, is he going to play?
Well, that's every game. Other than your playoff games, that's every game.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. So,
sure, you're right. If half their defense doesn't play, then the bet goes away. So.
Florida State will be getting a defensive tackle who hasn't played all year. Jackson is coming. He'll be eligible because he transferred in and he wasn't eligible. And what they were saying in Noel's country is he was wrecking havoc during practice against Florida State. I mean, he is a disruptor. So that defense, if they were playing for the Natty, that defense would have been even better than what it is now. So, this is why they do this. It's a debate. It's an entertainment product, right? ESPN owns the rights to this show. So they are going to make sure that they have their interests, verified. And, they want to make sure that they have their things. And if you look at it, it's just the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. The Super 2 conferences, you're going to get those in there. I mean, yes, you might get a Big 12 champ next year, and you'll get the ACC champ next year. Now, let me ask you this though: if Clemson goes 13-0 and Cubic gets injured and they're playing with a backup, are they left out?
Probably not, because they have that built-in pedigree, and it's supposed to be a year-to-year thing, but that's not how
Florida State won in 92 with Jimbo.
Yeah, exactly. 11 years ago. Clemson won one, 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they've been a 10-win team every year. Florida State had a year where they weren't even bowl eligible, and not too long ago.
Right.
So I mean, they're not supposed to do it that way, but they do it that way. So I think, if that's Clemson, I think Clemson gets in. Or if you flip the name on the brand around.
I do think that has a lot to do with it. Even the Texas thing. I know you guys were so far removed from it, but Texas is as big as that area. It's as big. It's bigger than, as big as Alabama. It's big as Ohio State is up there. We kind of removed from it. We don't realize how massive that is down there. But when you're in Texas, it's like if they wouldn't have got in, it would have been maybe more of an outrage than Florida State as far as that goes.
Especially
I will say one
Bama
thing
gets in, yeah.
I want to talk about with that after we talk about the top 4 teams. Right now they have Washington, I guess, as the 2 seed, right? And so something I was thinking about is Washington's odds to win the national championship are like plus 750, plus 800, where right now Michigan's plus 170, Alabama's plus 200, Texas is plus 250. After they pick the 4 teams, shouldn't Michigan? I feel like that's another thing we haven't talked about a lot. Washington should have been the 4 seed. Like
4 seed,
as far
really?
as going. I mean, if you're thinking about
or the 2 seed or the 1 seed,
they are the 2 seed. Yeah,
I mean,
they are the 2 seed.
I mean,
they are the 2 seed. But Michigan, I feel like Michigan kind of got the short end of the stick there. They would feel that playing Alabama over Washington, just with, I guess, odds. I mean, I think it's already funny. The 2 teams that are playing each other have the best odds to win the national championship.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, right? You look at, if you want to look at the metrics and you want to look at strength of schedule, strength of record, Washington is by far better than Michigan. Across the board. So in the committee's own thing, it was easy for them to slide Michigan over from 2-1, Washington up from 3-2, instead of saying, hey, you know what, Washington, based on metrics, based on strength of record, blah, blah, whatever, over. Now, do I think Washington is the number 1 overall seed? Probably not. Do I think Michigan? Probably not. I mean, right now, because I don't think their offense is.
We just don't know with Michigan. We really don't know.
Right. I mean, if Harbaugh can come up with more sign stealing things, and because they were rolling early, but then again they weren't playing anybody. So yeah, I don't know, but it's an interesting debate and one that will go on. And the thing, one last thing I'll say about the Florida State thing, and they were saying right now, but you also have to realize that you got 15 days before 15 bowl, before you play the bowl game, something like that. Practices, Tate Rodemeyer will improve, right? You'll have 15 days of rep. The backup quarterback will be in there. It's not the 3rd string quarterback that's going to play against, Michigan team, right? It's not. And Michigan and Florida State are one and the same, really, as far as their styles. And, it should be, that would have been a good game to see. I would have loved to seen that. I think Bama Michigan is going to be a great game, but I think, well, we'll see, because we got to go into our confidence picks here next, and that's what we're going to do here right now. So we've got the New Year's 6 bowls. We are going to put our confidence picks down. We're ranking them 6 as our most likely outcome to win, all the way down to 1, which is probably a coin flip. So since we've got a guest here today, Mike, we'll let you go first with your 6, and then we'll just go in order, and we'll go Sam, Crawley, me, then we'll just go Sam, then Crawley, then me. And
I
then
think
back to you.
6, I mean, continue with what we were talking about right now away. I think my most confident is definitely the Orange Bowl. Georgia beating the absolute brakes off of Florida State. I would say that's my most confident for sure. Going from there,
just do. We'll just go 6. Everybody will go 6, and then everybody will go 5, 4, 3, 2.
I'm learning.
All right, there we go. All right, Sam, who do you got for 6?
I'm actually the same as Mike. I had the Orange Bowl, and I'm just kind of assuming everybody's playing. You know, all of this could change in theory when we hear who's opting out. But as of right now, I'm operating that everybody for each of these teams is going to play. So, yeah, I got Georgia over Florida State. That's my most confident as well.
All right, Crawley.
Yeah, for just picking winners, I'm going with Georgia over Florida State as well. But I still my bet lays out there to Holland that Florida State will cover the spread. So.
We'll get something a little less financially involved. We'll get some
There
kind of
you
bet.
go.
But just a win, yes, Georgia over Florida State.
All right. Well, if we are assuming everybody's playing, then my number 6 will be. I'm going to the Fiesta Bowl. I'm taking Oregon over Liberty. So that's my 6 right there. I mean,
I guess for me, I'll just have to say this. I did not assume. I'm making some calls on who I think will play and won't. So that does change my.
Well, I mean, okay. Well, I mean, even if
I'm
Bo
pretty
Nix
confident to
doesn't play,
say that Bo Nix is not going to play. I am pretty confident to say
I'm probably confident with that too, but I still think Oregon will beat Liberty. That's my
okay.
That's where I'm at. So Oregon versus Liberty. All right, number 5. So Sam, you got number 5. Where are you going?
Number 5, I'm going. You're number 6. I'm going to the Fiesta Bowl. Oregon beating Liberty.
All right. All right, Crawley.
Yeah, because I think that Bo Nix is not going to play, and I think Liberty gets more up for that game than Oregon does. I have that much lower than what you guys are saying. So I have Texas over Washington. Oh. I think right now Texas is the best team in the country.
Yep. Nice. So my number 5 is Texas over Washington as well. Even though if Washington gets healthy, Texas could be in trouble because Penix hitting those receivers, and that's where Texas is very weak, is in their secondary. Their front 7 is the best, probably, you can rank them top 3 in the land, but their secondary is very, very, Oklahoma torched them. So, yeah, that's where I'm going. All right, Mike, who's your number 5?
Yeah, I'm with you guys with Oregon, Fiesta Bowl. I feel like that's always the one that kind of give it, one of those teams. Liberty is undefeated. You got to respect that, but they haven't played a team like Oregon this year. So even with Oregon's backup, who's actually pretty good compared to Florida State's backups, I think they win.
Yeah, Liberty's strength of schedule 133 out of 133. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So there was that. I don't know if you watched it, but there was the controversy of like, okay, are you going to put a undefeated Liberty as the highest ranked G5, or is SMU?
Tulane.
No, SMU because they beat Tulane.
They beat Tulane.
SMU has 2 losses though.
With 2 losses, but it was only by 1 place. Liberty was 22, SMU was 23.
Yeah, that was an undefeated beat out the 2.
That's the bigger bowl controversy right there.
Yeah, right. So and there you go. Florida State has more ammunition, undefeated versus a 2-loss team, but that's all right. All right, number 4. Where are you going, Crawley?
This is where I put Liberty. I have Liberty beating Oregon.
Woo!
Because I'm assuming that Bo Nix does not play. I'm very, very confident he does not play. And I think that Liberty, I think that Liberty is a Tulane. I mean, Tulane beat USC. I think whooped them pretty good last year.
Yeah, but
And USC by far was a way more talented team. I think it's been pretty split 50-50, with this G5 team that gets in against. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I forget my history, but the G5 I think has done pretty dang well in these games. So
UC lost.
They're always competitive.
Georgia.
Well, UC was in the playoff.
Yeah,
it wasn't a G5 game.
No, when they lost to Georgia, it was a G5 game the year before, but they lost by 3, and they were winning for most of the game. They should have won. Yeah. It's always competitive.
Still a
that
good
game
game.
is always
still a good game. Georgia didn't blow them out.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are talking to Oregon's going to blow Liberty out. So
I just think that I'm confident that Oregon's going to win. Right.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm confident Liberty's gonna beat Oregon as long as Nix doesn't start. If he plays, then that changes. But I'm not gonna change it. I mean, I'm stuck with what I'm saying. So.
Man, I swear.
All right. So my number 4, I've got Georgia over Florida State as the 4th.
Is it me?
Yep.
My number 4, I'm going to the Cotton Bowl, Ohio State over Missouri.
And Mike, who did you have?
I'm also going to the Cotton Bowl with Ohio State over Missouri. I will say this. I've watched a lot. I hate Kentucky, so I've watched a lot of Missouri games this year. Corey Schrader, the running back he's a former walk-on transfer player, probably one of the most exciting players to watch in college football running back-wise. If they can grind down with him, Missouri can win that game, but I think Ohio State. But I will say this kind of ties back to what you guys were saying. Ohio State may be one of those teams that has a lot of players not playing as well in this one. Right. So if that's the case, Missouri, I mean, that definitely changes that pick.
Because I can't imagine that Harrison will play.
Yeah, doesn't make sense at all for him to play.
Right. All right, so I guess it's my turn for number 3. I am going to the Chick-fil-A Bowl, Peach Bowl, and I'm going to take Penn State over Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is, I mean, they're an SEC team, yeah, but I think they're overrated. I don't think, besides Bama, Georgia, maybe an LSU, I don't think Ole Miss is great. I think Lane Kiffin, I mean, yeah, he can scheme up some things, but I think Penn State's defense is just better than Ole Miss. Now Drew Allar is going to have to play in order for them to score some points. He's got to be a lot better than he was in the Ohio State and Michigan games. But I'm for a 3 pick, I think, I'm going Penn State. Mike?
Yeah, I think for my 3 pick, I have to go with Texas here. I think, everything about it. I almost feel like a fool betting against Washington because I've done that. I would say that's my biggest misses in all my bets over the whole year, probably. I feel like a sucker. I would not put any money on this game at all. I would not touch it 10-foot pole, but I do think Texas is a much better team. Quinn Ewers he's legit, man. He's a good college quarterback. He really, really is. And Texas all around a better team. So definitely think Texas there.
Such a good college quarterback that he'll probably stay in for another year. And
he needs to. He should.
And then Arch Manning.
Come to Ohio State?
Transfer.
Is that the word?
Bama. Whoever has the most NIL money for Arch.
It probably doesn't drive him like it does a lot of the other guys. I'll tell you that.
So my number 3 will be the Rose Bowl, Michigan versus Alabama. I'll have Alabama to win, but I think that one there's a good chance that's a toss up. But I think Alabama comes out on top.
All right, and Crawley.
I have Ole Miss beating Penn State. I think I'm using literally your words, Dave, but flipping them. I think Penn State is way overrated. I think the Big Ten as a whole was overrated. I don't think Penn State's all that good. They have not beat anybody this year, legitimate. No, not one team. I mean, they've only played 2 of them. They beat West Virginia at the beginning of the year, and at that point, we thought West Virginia was terrible, and they ended up being pretty decent. So that's their next best win. I don't consider any other Big Ten win a good win. So Ole Miss has much better wins. So I'm going literally your exact words, but I'm saying your words are better suited for Ole Miss to win.
They're both overrated. Both have overrated head coaches. So yeah, I mean, yeah, but I just like Penn State a little better. All right, number 2, we're back to you, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's the Ole Miss Penn State game. This was one when I was looking at odds earlier. I think Ole Miss, for just a half second when they released it, was the favorites, and it moved all the way to Penn State being 3.5-point favorites now. That was one it makes me think they know something about people maybe not playing for Ole Miss, maybe players sitting out. That was a drastic change in a matter of an hour, like where it was like Vegas put it down and then it jumped. So I think my heart tells me, Ole Miss. I watched Penn State play some really terrible football this year. I've not watched Ole Miss as much, but I think I'm going with Vegas on this one. And I do have Penn State, but I'm not confident in it at all.
All right. Sam?
Yeah, my number 2 is that same game, Ole Miss versus Penn State. I'm going with Ole Miss. I think games like this tend to be shootouts, and Ole Miss can score with anybody. They can put up points with anybody. And Penn State, I don't think can. I think this one could be a blowout, but I'm still not that confident in it, just because it's still a Lane Kiffin coach team, and you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. But I do think Ole Miss wins.
Crowley, where are we going for number 2?
Number 2, I have Alabama beating Michigan.
All right, my number 2, I've got Mizzou beating Ohio State. I don't know how Ohio State will rebound. If Marvin Harrison doesn't play, I don't think E Squared's playing as well. Is Henderson going to play? I don't know. I like Mizzou. I like their head coach. He'll go for it on 4th down, unlike Ohio State's head coach. Are they going to get up for Missouri? I don't. I mean, I got it at 2 because it's a coin flip. Because I'm not real high on Mizzou. I think being 9th. I don't know. But if we were going other games, I would probably pick, some of these bowl games that I know they're going to have their players playing. But it is what it is. So I went with Mizzou at number 2. All right. For our least confident game, I think, so who goes here? Is it?
It's me.
It's Sam?
Yeah, I got the Sugar Bowl left. That's my least confident. I think this one's going to be a shootout. Whoever has the ball last, I think, ends up winning. It'd be, like a 42-40 type game, 42-41, something like that. But I have Texas winning it.
All
right, Crawley.
Yeah, the only thing I have left is Ohio State, Missouri. I'm picking Ohio State, and you're right. Ohio State has more probability of having a guys opt not to play, which obviously would change things. But I don't know that. So other than Marvin Harrison, so I think Ohio State is better than Missouri. So but not super confident. I mean, that's
the other thing too that we're talking about players, but what about assistant coaches getting a head coaching job? Because I know
or head coaches.
Yeah.
Ryan Day might leave.
It's like Jim Knowles. He's already interviewing for head coaching jobs. And he's their defense. So like that could be, something like that could be. So yeah, you just never know. All right, my number 1 is the Bama Michigan game, and it'll probably be a blowout. I mean, just because it probably will be, but I've got Bama, even though I don't think they should have been in. That's who I got to beat Michigan. I just think that Bama's defense is coming on strong. I mean, Michigan's got his great, but I don't think Michigan hasn't played a quarterback like Milrose in the Big Ten, right? I mean, they haven't. Somebody who, he's not a great passer, but I mean, he can make a pass when he needs to. Obviously fourth and 31, he did, but you've got to account for him for running, and it is what it is. So yeah, since it's on ESPN, I got to go with the SEC team. And Mike, your last pick.
Yeah, I think the toughest one for me still is I'm going to the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, and I do have Alabama winning. It's just like stories all the time with Michigan. I'm not super confident, but I don't know what Michigan is. And then they get into these big bowl games at the end of the year, and they get demolished by an SEC team. It's like, is it every year Harbaugh's been here? I feel like this has happened where we don't really know what they are. They get to this game, and then they get demolished by an SEC team.
Last year, they got beat by a Big 12
team.
Big 12 team, yeah. But I think the year before was Georgia, right? Kind of they got in there in Georgia
Georgia,
or Alabama, and then Alabama one year. And so it's never close with the SEC teams. So Ohio State kind of broke that trend a little bit last year with how they played in the championship game. But I think Michigan gets in there. But I don't know. Like, I don't think Alabama's the best Alabama team. They're not great, but I don't know what Michigan is at all. I know Alabama's at least won a game against Georgia. So that's really what I got.
All right. So to recap, Mike, you have as your number 6 most confident pick, Georgia, followed by Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Alabama. Yep. Charlie, you have Georgia as your most confident pick, Texas, Liberty, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Ohio State. Sam, you rolling with Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas. And then I have Oregon as my most confident pick, followed by Texas, Georgia, Penn State, Missouri, and Alabama. All right. It'll be an interesting bowl season. Mike, you got any tips for those people out there as far as betting, whether it's bowl games or NFL football games? What are some tips? What do you look for when you are making those bets? Do you normally go against the spread? Do you money line sprinkles? What do you do there?
For college bowl games, it's one of the hardest ones. I either want to get on these bets right now, right when they come out, and be like, get these lines and hopefully they don't move, or just wait till the last second on these. Because like you said, when players are not in, betting on bowl, it's so funny throughout the college football season. And you kind of can predict some things. The bowl games, you can't really predict much because you just don't know who's going to play in the bowl games. The 4 that you can bet on, of course, is the Big 4 or the Big 6 games. Those are the more ones to bet on. I like to parlay TD scores a lot of times with a pick. So on these bigger games, maybe like running back, they're using a lot, parlaying that with it. I think that's always a good way to get better odds on some of these, where you can stick with the money line opposed to the spread, and then just you need that guy to score a touchdown, especially in these games where you think it's really going to be, a lot of scores. So maybe Alabama, Michigan game, maybe get each running back getting a touchdown, or Jalen getting a touchdown early, and with the running back for Michigan. So those are some fun things you can do with that. College basketball right now is where it's at still, because Vegas still hasn't figured everyone out. I'll tell people that all the time. The best time to make money in sports betting is the first 2 weeks of college basketball season, because Vegas has no clue what's going on yet. All the college football they do. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't bet a lot on the bowl games because they are a little more unpredictable.
What about the NFL? You got any
NFL?
Tips?
Just when teams play in domes, do some same game parlays, anytime touchdown scores, overs, things like that. The Cowboys have been just money. If you just go and bet anything with Cowboys scoring at home, you're probably going to get some money. So even today with the Lions game, they were playing the Saints. I like the inside games over on the points a lot of times, and then just anytime touchdown scores. That's where I've been most successful at this year for sure, is those little same game parlay kind of things. I kind of avoid just the full game parlays anymore, because Vegas kind of knows what they're doing. And if you're betting with the spreads with those NFL games, you're going to do it. I think my favorite one this year was the Texans. They were over 19.5 points in the game, over under. They scored 19 points in the game. And it's like the first time in Texans history that they scored 19 points in a game. So it's like, dang, Vegas threw a 19.5 pointer out there. What's that about? So I like some of the things that maybe Vegas won't pay attention to as much. And that's how you get the money. Also, bet against you all season. I bet against UC football to not cover. I think they were like 3-9 against the spread this year. UC football was a moneymaker for everyone this year.
Hey, we're glad UC can help you out a bit. So.
Well, I mean, I think that's the focus with those some things. Just have fun. Don't bet a lot of money. That's the big thing. Do $5, $10 bets. Don't bet a lot, and that's where you get in trouble and you don't enjoy it as much. So yeah, just fun. Should be fun. Should be an enjoyable thing. And I can just brag to Crawley when I get to work each day about the extra $50 I made over the weekend. So that's the big goal.
So you're a big disc golf guy.
Big disc golf.
So you got any tournaments coming up? What's on the horizon for you there, real quick?
Winter's a little more chill. You can play. I'll get out there and play in the winter and the cold, but I'll go down to Florida for a tournament in February. That's my next big tournament. There's a big A tier in Clearwater, Tampa area, so that'll be my next A tier. And so then summer starts. That's when I start traveling a lot and doing different tournaments. But yeah, it's just a little side gig. Again, I am a school teacher. We do not make a lot of money, so my addictions are how I rely on life and getting around and affording gas and food. So yeah, so I try to go out of town for a big tournament once a month throughout the whole year, and then a bunch of smaller locals. Cincy, so we need to have this one day. University of Cincinnati is the national champions at disc golf. We are the top disc golf program in the nation, ranked number 1. So we have this is a great place to be for disc golf. So pretty soon, this whole podcast will probably be a disc golf podcast because it's taking over the world. It's either that or pickleball. So you guys choose.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I was going to say pickleball or disc golf.
Yeah.
If somebody's interested in disc golf, how do they get involved? I mean, where do they go? What do they do?
We kind of have a great area here. My sponsor's up in Dayton. It's called Hazy Shade. It's a great shop to go and learn. But also you can, it's weird, but they can reach out to you and reach out to me to play as well. Disc golf's a really fun sport. It's a sport that ages well. As I've gotten older, my body just doesn't do the same things anymore. I still wanted to get out and do things. I can't go play pickup basketball with the kids anymore because I'll get hurt. So disc golf is that thing to keep yourself moving, be able to have a craft beer, enjoy yourself, not take it too serious when you're having fun. And I think reaching out, just kind of going out there, getting a few discs and just going out there and playing. Winton Woods is probably the best course to learn in. I do the disc golf club at school. That's where our kids always go. We just go there and play Winton Woods and learn the sport. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff on YouTube and things like that.
All right. Well, we appreciate you stopping by the podcast. Maybe as it gets closer to the Super Bowl, you can come back on and give us your bets and your money line props and all that kind of stuff. For us and for our listeners out there. Gentlemen, you got anything else before we get out of here today?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, this would have been a great year to have the 12-team playoff, though.
Yes, it would have been. It would have been great.
So, compared to these other years where we were struggling to get the 4 teams. So,
all right,
it's fun.
Well, next week, tune in. We're going to be recapping the Crosstown Shootout. And then our topic of the week will be ranking the best UC/Xavier basketball players. So thank you again for listening. All you, if you guys could out there, hit that like and subscribe button, hit that little notification button so you know when we are going live or when we release a new show. So please spread the word for all you Cincinnati sports fans. And, until next week, have a wonderful week. See you, everybody.
Take care.
Later.